You are now locked in to Mode.London, the one-stop shop for all things UK underground. Tune in to hear the best in grime, dubstep, garage, drum and bass, funky and more. You can follow us on Instagram at Mode.Radio.London and Twitter at Mode.Radio.London. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube, Mode.London, for all the freshest content. Keep it locked. Mode is home.
Yes, Mode. Happy International Women's Day. You're listening to Baby Crew on a cheeky Sunday slot instead of our Thursday. We've got 2 hours. We'll intro the show in a sec. But yeah, once again, big up the girls. It's our day. That was Make Your Move by the amazing Shirley Temper. I think from me today, I have rooted through, and I will only be playing female producers today, of course. I'm glad I've rooted through actually, because I'm quite proud of myself. I have a lot of female producers, I'm glad. Saying you've got us for the next couple of hours celebrating International Women's Day. Thank you so much, Mode, for spotlighting your girls on the show. I'm sure you're going to be hopefully tuned in all day. We have got a really exciting show today. Not only a great guest mix, which will be coming up next from DaiSu, but we are also going to be chatting to DaiSu and Miggs about Not Bad for a Girl. We just thought it would be illegal to not chat about this collective at this moment in time. They are such at the forefront of conversations about women in music through grassroots and higher up in the scene, and yeah, we're going to delve into that. We're not going to solve the world, we're not going to put anything to rights, but as Not Bad for a Girl is, it is a place to celebrate and also vent about our struggles and celebrations within the dance music scene. So stay tuned for that. We're going to have a great combo and delve into some topics that I'm sure all the girls, but also all the guys listening in should be aware of, and yeah, hopefully spark some conversations and thoughts in your life and approach to the dance music scene. And anyway, before we get into all the chats and the seriousness of this topic, but also the fun and the amazing vibes that girls bring, have got DaiSu in for a guest mix. She is a Bristol-born DJ, but also based in London. She's been on the likes of Rinse and Swoo, and played in support of Interplanetary Criminal and Main Phase, you know, those guys that everyone knows. But she is an amazing DJ in her own right. She's going to take you through her sound for the next hour, so stay locked.
What's on Mode Radio? You're locked into DaiSu on behalf of Baby Crew on International Women's Day. I'll be with you for the next, hour or so. I'm actually not sure. Hour? Yeah, hour. Just had to double check. And I have a selection of some of my favourite AFAB producers, tunes from a lot of super cool women. And again, I also went through my record box and was like, yeah, I'm not going to have to download anything else. I've got plenty here. So keep it locked.
can't help but hear you calling out for me, out for me. Tiptoed out of plenty shit shows. All this life has 50 ways to reveal me, the real me, and you're real me. Go. I know I chose to let it go and falling free, falling free. Let it go free.
Mold and humidity in Goa is one big fuckface fucker of a thing. Is one big fucker of a thing.
Bit of a vibe change up from the last song to this song. Last one was Vienna Blend by Ila Burgel, and currently underneath me is an unreleased one from Kitster that I just couldn't resist playing. You're locked into Mode Radio with Baby Crew. I'm DaiSu. Keep it locked.
Say bye. I was always looking for somebody I could adore. In my spirit I do explore, and I find peace in myself some more. And I find peace in my, and I find peace in my, and I find peace in my, and I find peace in my.
Yes, that was DaiSu on for the last hour. We had so much fun dancing away, little Sunday boogie, which we love. Did you have fun?
I did, yeah. Imagine if I was just like, nah.
Nah.
I actually hated that.
Yeah, that would be really bad.
Yeah, you'd be like,
all the women tunes, nah, I didn't even like them.
I actually
We'd
hate
be sounded
playing
like blokes
music by
then.
women.
Anyway, so this next sort of hour or so, what we're going to be doing is chatting through some topics and things, and we're going to be playing some tunes that Maria has picked out in between to break up all the chat. So yeah, first of all, we've got Miggs here and DaiSu, who are both Not Bad for a Girl residents. We really wanted to spotlight this collective because they are just so at the forefront of the conversation about women in music, and there is so much content on their page that is accessible, readable, informative, that we really encourage you guys to have a look at, as well as what I was been listening to, which was their panel talk at Fabric, which is such a great hour, almost like introduction and voices from around the industry talking on the topic. So we've got these two here. We're going to be chatting through things about Not Bad for a Girl, their own experiences, all that kind of stuff. But first of all, I want to take it back for you guys to you being really, really young, and what women in music, not just dance music, maybe like really stood out to you. This question's going to you as well, Maria, who really seemed almost to influence you or just caught your eye, or that you always think about when you were younger.
Do you know what? So I was a little like emo scene kid growing up. So Hayley Williams was like my icon, like that girl. What is her name? Is it Amy Lee, who was the front woman of Evanescence? Does anyone remember her?
I remember Evanescence.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. She icon legend at the moment. I mean, that says a lot about me and about my age, I guess. But no, because I didn't get into dance music until a bit later. So from my youth, that's who I remember. That's who stands out the most.
For me, my mum brought me up on a lot of like 70s disco, so I had a lot of like Gladys Knights and things like that, and it felt like there was a lot of like strong, powerful women in my life. I also grew up with two older sisters. They were older than me by like 18 years, and they were kind of like listening to a lot of like Gwen Stefani's and Beyonce's and Shakira's, and we were very like strong woman household. My poor dad used to put up with us all, but yeah, so I think from a young age, like I always had like these idols put in front of me, so it was good to take inspiration from that and being like a powerhouse, I guess. Yeah,
I'm very similar to you actually. I've got an older sister by 15 years, and as like a younger sister, you're like, oh my god, they are the coolest. So
yeah,
watching her like love the Spice Girls, very, very typical, but just having, I think I've still got one of their CDs, and that was what I would play. And I think them was just like a contract. Yeah, they were just so powerful. So I'm really happy that I was brought up a bit on the Spice Girls, even though I was like 2000s kid. But you know, they were still going about. What about you, Maria?
Well, I mean, I do love Gwen Stefani. She's all over my Pinterest, her outfits. I think for me, I do think like, I just remember my mum, like, she just loved Lily Allen. She loved Katie B.
Yes,
Them kind of like iconic like it girls, early 2000s, which is funny because I suppose it intertwines with dance music a little bit. So yeah, and I love that Lily Allen's obviously come back now, and I'm like now old enough to like listen back to her old albums when I was maybe like 6, and it was my mum just had the CD in the car, and now she's brought out an album. Like I don't know how long, like nearly 20 years later. Or has it been that long? I don't know. So yeah, it's like a nice little circle moment, I guess. Like I just love Lily Allen.
Love Lily Allen. And the reason I kind of wanted to ask you that was just sort of highlighting how important it is for younger people to see women in the music in every aspect. So leading on from that, talking about the DJs that you maybe saw firstly, I definitely want to say, like, I definitely got into the scene through bassline and drum and bass, very, very classic. So for me, I actually saw Flavor D as one of my like first female DJs, which is amazing because she's also a queer DJ and an absolute powerhouse in the bass scene, and she's still going so strong. And someone else, also Harriet Jackson, who when I was younger, like I think saw her like opening festivals when there was like anyone there, and shout out to my best mate Molly, we were at the front shouting like "Go on Harriet" all the time. But it was so important for me to see that, and I was very lucky to be introduced to the scene with these women on the lineups at the time. However, that was probably the only couple that I can think of. So for you guys, who do you feel like you saw the first when you were getting into the dance scene?
For me, I was the same as you. I was very brought up on like the drum bassline scene was kind of like my first introduction, thrown into the deep end with that. I think getting into the kind of like garagey scene was when I first was like, oh, this is my kind of music. Like when I first started playing, that's what I was playing. And I think like the biggest inspirations for me through that was kind of like you 24-hour garage girls and like KTB and Shosh and stuff like that. And I think at the forefront of what they were doing, they were also like bigging themselves up as women as well. So it was kind of like they knew how important it was to like inspire the new generation, and that kind of like screamed through like everything they did. So they were definitely at the forefront for me, like when I was in the garagey era.
I actually started out playing a lot more like house music, especially like funky house, because that's what was big when I was getting into DJing. And I was actually thinking, I'm trying to think, because when I first started DJing, I didn't really know any other women who mixed, but I remember seeing like people like Moxie and Peach and Saoirse at night, and like I remember like they were almost like put on a pedestal by the men who I knew who were into electronic music. But it was so cool to see these like super cool women who had broken into the scene at a time where like there were so many fewer, like even compared to now, there were so many fewer women mixing. But you just also Miggs just remind me of I think Sicaria Sound, like early on when Not Bad for a Girl had formed, and I was kind of introduced to them via the others, and they also were obviously still about, but very iconic at the time. And obviously Mia Koden and Luna now have their own solo careers, which I've been following closely. Can't speak. But the other person I was thinking of was actually when I was getting into production. I went to, it was this like middle of COVID, went to a like webinar hosted by Yazzus on like making bootlegs, because she came up through making loads of bootlegs and then got production deals through that to make her own music. And I think like she, an incredible producer. Like it was a super cool talk. Like I still use some of the tips that she gave back then, which is coming out 6 years now, which is crazy. But yeah, lots of cool women.
I love that. I think, yeah, the value of going to like workshops and spaces with women and things will stick with you. There's some advice that I was given was like, be in the spaces that you want to be in, and that is just like held to the core, even though that was said to me so long ago. So yeah, it's so great to hear. Maria, what about you? Maria's she's our jungle head, but she grew up on music. So I feel like you said, a lot of your tunes are from women as well.
I don't know. I think I've got two quite different ones. Obviously, I have grown up with. I'll hold it for you. Doing all that finger work. Don't know what I'm saying now. Yeah. So for me, I've obviously grown up with jungle and drum and bass, and you can't talk about drum and bass without mentioning Flight and Storm. Literally starting Metalheads with Goldie. Like it's so nice that they're like the actual foundation of kind of drum and bass as it was transitioning from jungle. So yeah, I suppose like they're quite iconic women to me, and still being able to see Storm now, like I saw Storm, Flight and Mantra, like that's for me, like that's just my perfect back-to-back that you could ever get. And then the other one that came to mind is there's this just like iconic female DJ. She's called Natasha Diggs. She like plays disco. I think she's from like New York. And you know when you just think of a DJ, like a superstar DJ, and they're just wearing the most like insane, amazing outfits. Like she's always got these like magical, huge, sparkly like caftans on. It's so opposite to like what I would wear, but she always just comes to mind as like just such an iconic like impact. Like you just look at her and you feel empowered, and the music she plays, everyone's dancing. So yeah, Natasha Diggs, if you ever want a little funky disco set, put her YouTube mixers on, they're great.
I will be doing that. Yeah, it's so interesting to hear, like, everyone has different experiences of coming into the scene. Like I said, I sort of started on drum and bass and bass line, and unlike Maria, I did not grow up on the music at all. Like, my dad was playing me 60s, 70s and 80s stuff, which do have a lot of women in, but, you know, the icons of the time, Queen and stuff, a lot of glam rock, so still quite queer icons. Thank you, Dad. But, yeah, so the reason I sort of touched on like Flavor D and Harriet Jackson was because I feel like it took me a couple years to like really get into the scene, and I left London for uni, and then when I came back I feel like I proper like got my claws back into London. I was so happy, and there is so many women out there, but it's quite funny being on this side of it that when I was younger, especially the drum and bass scene, like I was only aware of a few female DJs, but there are them around. And Maria, I think you had a stat on drum and bass, women in drum and bass is quite a low percentage.
I did, yeah. I was like looking at a bit of research before today, and I came across, I think they're called Watching Something. They're like a Bristol-based kind of like media outlet, and it was kind of talking about female producers, and drum and bass out of all of the dance music genres is the genre, I guess, with the least female DJs. I think it's just over like 5% are female producers, which is just insane, like just over 5%. So yeah, I think just from my side, the tunes that I've picked to play today have all, I mean, it's what I listen to, so it is a bit biased, but I thought I would just play the more 160 jungle tracks for you today from all the amazing female producers that actually are out there.
And on that note, before we get chatting about Not Bad for a Girl, we're going to play one more tune and then we'll get into the weeds of it. But thank you guys firstly for telling us about all the amazing people that you saw starting out in the scene and music. What track are you going to play?
I'm going to play a track by DJ Sofa. So it's called Transmission. They're doing a lot at the moment. They've just released on Near Archives label, and I've been following them for ages, and they're just doing loads. So got great songs too.
Play the track. Hello. We're back again. That was a great tune. Thank you, Maria, as always. Anyway, so we're gonna sort of transition from, speaking about your background, and obviously that's really kind of alarming statistic in drum and bass. And I guess some of the reason why Not Bad for a Girl formed, I believe you guys formed it like 2018 to be a platform to celebrate but also vent about issues within dance music for women. And I guess just like, how did you get involved with such a great collective, and maybe your starting point with them as well?
So I was actually there at the kind of birth of Not Bad for a Girl. Me and Martha were really hungover and spoons, and she was like, I want to make a collective of female DJs. And I was like, yeah, let's do it. I mean, it was very much her brainchild. I'm by no means taking credit. But yeah, I mean, it started off like her just messaging in a group chat that we had, being like, who wants to be part of a collective? And it's kind of got out of hand since then. But yeah, I think it might have been 2019. We always get confused. I feel like we have this conversation every year where we're kind of like, what year did we actually start, guys? But I'm pretty sure it was 2019. And yeah, I don't know. It's been like, I've met some of my closest friends through music and through DJing, and I think like I don't know about any of you guys, but like when I first started DJing, I didn't anticipate it to kind of get to this point as such. That sounds negative, but I mean that in a very good way. But yeah, I'd like it's crazy like seeing where we came from and where we are now, as it were.
Yeah, I joined the collective, I think it was 2024, towards the end of 2024, because Martha was like expanding everything. And Martha was just like a huge inspiration to me. Like when I first like moved to London from Liverpool, I think I kind of thought that I had a handle on it, and I got to London and I was like, oh my god, it's really big here, and like there's so much going on and there's loads to get involved in. But I think when you're kind of like, I moved with a couple of friends, but it was still just, everything was so new to me, and like really wanted to get involved with the scene, but even though there's so much going on, it can be quite alarming like where to start. And Martha really just like took me under her wing a little bit, and like kind of like we started like going out together and stuff, and I already like knew of you guys, like I'd met you guys before, kind of like tried following you guys around a little bit. So then when she I was cooking. I had a plan.
Go away, bro.
And then
Who's this following me?
And then yeah, so then when she asked me to like actually be a part of the collective, it was like a dream come true, because I think it's been so nice to like follow your guys' journey, like especially like coming from Manchester and then like across to like London and stuff as well. And like I was already so inspired by everything that you do, so for Martha to be like, and you can join in too, was just like it was incredible. Yeah, and I feel like I hope don't mind me saying this, I've slotted in pretty well.
Yeah, we'll see.
But yeah, like everyone in the team is so lovely. I feel like at the core of it, everyone just has each other's best interests at heart, and it's more than just like a DJ collective. It's like a little family as well. Like everyone's so like looking out for each other and supportive, and like I think you really need that like in the scene as well. You need like a little like a foundation to be a
100%.
part of.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we are both super lucky to have the backing of Energy Crew behind us, and that is not we met through music as well, so that sort of friendship bonding. I saw Maria when we were working on a bar, and I was like, started chatting, and I was like, we like the same music, do you want to go out? And that is what we did. So yeah, that's all like friendship as a basis is always amazing. Anyway, we are going to get into the weeds just a little bit. To preference, we are not going to be solving all the issues in the dance music world today. We just want to chat through some things, some experiences, some opinions, and yeah, I just also want to say like I don't want to say like battle, but yeah, the kind of battle within dance music and also feminism as a whole, like it should always be intersectional. I know that Not Bad for a Girl always inclusive of trans voices, marginalised people's voices, queer communities, black communities, East Asian communities, South Asian communities, like everyone is always welcome in our eyes. I mean, I'm going to point it out, we are all white girls standing here, but I come from a working class background. My mum is an immigrant. I am from London, but you guys are all actually from outside of London, which I think is a really interesting touch point to start with, because I mean, London feels like such a centre of things, and you said that like Not Bad for a Girl started in Manchester and things, but I guess coming then to London, which I believe you guys have, and starting your music careers, I just want to talk a bit about women in the dance floors, and that as a punter and a DJ. So I guess, firstly, like, as a DJ, what are you maybe like looking for as change or seeing change? I mean, I know that you guys talk about like inclusivity riders and safety after the events and things like that. And yesterday we at Energy Crew actually hosted a Mothers in Music talk, which spoke about like needing to put space in for mums and have a bit of understanding. So I guess, what is Not Bad for a Girl's message for DJs and women in dance music?
I think it's, like Miggs just said, about us being supportive of each other outside of just being kind of quote-unquote colleagues, I guess. And I guess it's building that sense of community for women, because I think it's something that a lot of marginalised groups seek out or build for themselves in order to combat the systems of oppression. And I think that's a big part of what Not Bad for a Girl does. It's about helping to create community via giving opportunities to smaller artists, so like doing the open decks, and also kind of almost introducing people to role models. So having things like the panel talks gives people an opportunity to see someone who looks like them doing a role that they want to do where they might not have seen that before. And obviously that's mainly focused on gender minorities, so women, non-binary people. But that also kind of, Martha has tried to kind of extend that outside of that, as you said, like intersectionality on all fronts. And yeah, I think that's a big part of it. It's sort of, it's not just getting on lineups as women, it's also creating opportunities for other people who might not have had those opportunities otherwise.
Yeah, I think it's just also like making people feel seen and like important, that their voices and everything they're going through is valid and it's important. The music industry can be so hard to navigate when you first get into it. Like there's a lot of things that I've learned through being part of the collective, that like, because I think especially like you're always, whenever you get booked for things, like you want to make a good impression, and you never, I think as a woman as well, you never want to like ask for too much or come across as like a certain way. And I think there's a lot of like tips and tricks that I've learned through the collective that's like, no, like what I want and what's important to me is also valid, like asking for like to get an Uber home and stuff like that, and safety. And I think it's just making people feel comfortable within the music industry to be able to like support each other. Yeah.
No, definitely. Yeah.
And as DJs yourselves and being part of the collective as well, what sort of things would you like to see being implemented across the board, for not like just the safety of women, but just the comfortability and equity for women as well? Tough questions.
I think for me, I think a lot of like grassroots collectives like do things very well, and I think there's like a huge movement further down the scene in these grassroots spaces where people do feel more supported and they do feel like they have their communities and they do feel seen. It would be nice for, I think a lot of the, as you get further up, people like are thinking maybe more like money first and things like that. But it's also like the scene can be a little bit like rinse and repeat kind of thing. Like it's nice to have, it's nice to create spaces for the new people coming through and to like make sure people feel seen and like involve new communities. And I wish that people would like, it's not even taking a risk. I think it's just like opening their eyes more. And you know, it doesn't have to be the same 5 white guys on every lineup. Like it's important to like make space for everyone so everyone feels represented, and then that will also benefit them because more people will want to come to the event if they feel seen. So
yeah, I mean, this is more about kind of the music scene in general, but what you were saying about lineups not being rinse and repeat. Like I went to an event last weekend which was put on by one of my work colleagues, and it was just like a little like low-key house kind of vibes in Peckham. And you know what, it was the first time in ages where I'd been to an event where I didn't know anyone on the lineup, and I had such a good time and I really enjoyed the music. And I think that's something that's been lost a bit more recently, and I do think a lack of diversity on lineups is a contributor to that. But like I, you know, going through uni, and I think this is particularly like pre-COVID. I think since COVID, it's gotten a lot worse. But pre-COVID, it was kind of you would go on a night out, to a club because you liked that club and you wouldn't know anyone on the lineup, or like occasionally you would, but for the most part it was kind of like, okay, I like Soup Kitchen, I know they do a good night, I'm just gonna go there. No idea what's on, and you might get there and the music's shit and you're kind of like, oh, okay, I'm gonna go home. But you know, I think that's something that we've kind of lost a bit more recently, that was so important to making like a really good dance music scene that had longevity.
Yeah, so agree with that. And I think especially where you're touching on grassroots, I think there is, like you say, there is a lot more positivity within that scene. That's why I definitely feel more inclined to go to those events. So genuinely, promoters, like, people are stopping, I guess, like, I don't want to go to drum sheds because it's not a great space and the lineups are similar. I want to go to the smaller raves.
Yeah, I mean, I went out last night to Cortex at the Cause, and it was funny because I kind of like realised they hadn't, it was just nice. I don't think I've noticed it before, but it wasn't promoted as a Women's Day thing. It was just an event. But actually, there was like, I think Sully was the only white guy on it. It was all women of colour playing. And it was just nice to see it not pushed as like a female-led night. It was just genuinely like a night that you went to with women, like you didn't even realise until you got there and you were like, wow, this is amazing. And I think it's nice to kind of have that space. Like I always shout out MC Deadman as well, because, you know, she's always like, she has her name. You don't know if she's female or male. You just kind of get there and you don't know what to expect. And it's kind of like, it's nice to not have them expectations and just turn up and it be there. And I think that's what you get from obviously the more grassroots side. That it's the more like authentic, genuine side of things, really.
I mean, literally the event that you were at the other week, me and Maria were so excited to go to it because it was honestly such a great lineup. So many women on the lineup. But to be fair, I didn't even necessarily clock that it was mainly women lineup. I think there was only one male DJ. He was the headliner. But yeah, and all these women that I really have been wanting to see for ages. And again, it was nice that it wasn't necessarily like promoted as like, this is a centre thing. So in all, big up the smaller collective grassroots, like you guys are doing bits. And I think often when I speak to men, and I do try and actually speak to men in the rave, I do hear them like in grassroots events, if they are the promoters, which is quite a big % of the promoters, they are wanting to showcase women more. So I guess onto like the bigger corporations, because I know that Not Bad for a Girl do work with them, which is really interesting because I think I was listening to the panel talk at Fabric and someone said that it's really almost quite a negative point of view, but like really hard to believe that those corporations will change because money is at the forefront. There's a really, really good blog post on Voices at the moment that runs through pretty much every way that big corporations are involved with our dance music scene, like from who owns the festivals, who is in debt, and all these kind of stuff. So I guess what do Not Bad for a Girl do? I'm really interested in hearing like when working with like bigger corporations, I guess.
So I think usually we usually try and kind of, I don't want to say vet, but look into whoever it is we're working with, and look for any sort of, I'm trying to think how to explain it. If there are kind of ties to corporations or institutions or whatever that we don't agree with, or if it's a bigger brand who aren't really championing underrepresented voices and things like that. I think there is like a process through which it goes through before Martha's kind of like, yeah, no, I'll definitely work with them. I mean, she heads up a lot of the kind of like working with brands, etc. I'm trying to think, like,
I think it's also like really difficult because I think like within the scene, like you don't actually realize like who's behind like a lot of these like bigger things. I know like when I kind of started working in the music industry, like not just as a DJ but like as a promoter as well, and kind of got more behind the scenes, and I'm like, oh, like this is who's behind this and this is who's behind this, and they have ties to this, and it's really difficult to navigate. So yeah, I think Martha's got some good processes like involved to vet people, and also
Yeah.
like people do want to change as well, and people like there's been so many messages to Martha of like these, you know, big corporations that are like, we are willing to make a change and we want to learn with you, and I think that's really important if people are kind of willing to do that. But yeah, it's a process of like trying to find out who's actually willing to do it, because
Yeah.
I think finding the line between like tokenism can be so difficult to navigate. So, but yeah, it's a
Yeah,
tricky
I
one.
mean, we're not against pulling out of lineups as well. Like
No.
we did a lot of it last year. I mean, like with South by Southwest,
Yeah.
and that kind of thing, which is it's disappointing, but also sometimes you just have to accept, you know, sticking to your morals, I guess, isn't always going to be easy. And I guess like that's kind of the hard part of it sometimes. Is like, yes, you might want to work with this big brand, but in the case of South by Southwest, they had ties to kind of arms companies who were dealing weapons to Israel and things like that, and it was just kind of not good. And I think ultimately we had a whole conversation about it as a collective, and we decided that it didn't represent who we were, and it felt wrong to be doing it. And I think it's kind of we have a lot of those kind of open conversations as well, where sometimes Martha will come to us and say, look, this is the brand, I'm not sure about it, what do you guys think? And I think some of the best advice that advice to live by, I would argue as well, from Irby was, if you're not sure about it, it's probably a no.
Yeah. And I mean, to conclude that little point, it is hard. It is really hard. We are navigating a really challenging time in the dance music industry, where we have like these push and pull of these two spaces, where understandably we know that artists need to make money, and sometimes that isn't in a grassroots scene. So yeah, it's an ongoing conversation, right? We're still navigating it as punters, as DJs, as collectives, which is always interesting. Anyway, I guess back onto like the dance floor spaces. Dance floor is such like an open and free space that we go to escape, and for women, like I love like chatting to you. I love that I can feel open and talking to you like I did the other week and asking if you want to come on here. Do you feel like we're at a better place with women in dance floors as punters, I guess, or do you think there's still a long way to go? I think there's such like a mixed bag with this. I think in some spaces, like personally, I feel really good. Some spaces in certain music, I feel a bit more like challenged, literally like physically. Like I really love grime. I really like dubstep those nights, but I always do feel a little bit like, I need to protect my body, because there's a lot of big guys that are enjoying the sound, which I'm here for, but in a way, like I'm pretty small. You might not see me, and I might get a little elbow to the face, which is always quite a hard thing to navigate, because in my mind I'm like, just let me in front of you, which sometimes I have said I am quite forward with that, and people do let me in front of them. But yeah, where do you think, I guess, is it in a good space right now, or do you think there's more to be done?
I haven't actually been out much recently, and that is in part due to going to a night where I had a bad experience, where essentially similar thing to that. I mean, it wasn't like it was a like a kind of housey music night, but I spent the entire night just getting pushed and elbowed and danced into by different men, and it got to the point, like I ended up leaving really early, which was such a shame, but it just got to the point where I was kind of like, I'm not having a good time, I'm being miserable, I'm probably going to bring the vibe down for all of my mates who are here, I'm just going to go. But it kind of put me off going out for ages. Like I'm still kind of getting back into it and being like, it's not always going to be like that. You are going to have a good time. And I think it's difficult, because I think it really depends on who's playing, the venue, like so many factors like that. You can, because there's crowds that I've been in where I've been like, this is genuinely awful, and other ones where I've had the absolute time of my life. I do sometimes think it's related to the age range that you have, and I think when you have a bigger age range, it tends to be a better crowd, personally.
Yeah, I think it's literally like a case by case thing sometimes. That, like you said, it can depend on the venue, the crowd, and things like that. I think it's about finding your space where you feel comfortable, because I know the places where I can go to in London and beyond, where I'm going to be with like-minded people who share my morals, who especially, like, I want to go to venues where like safety comes first. Like I will regularly go to Fold on my own, because I know that like I feel safe there, and it's not even like I think the crowd plays a big part in that, because I know that they attract like a certain type of person who like wants safety at the forefront as well. But like I've also been in Fold where like I had a bit of like a weird interaction with like men, and especially like when you're on your own, that can feel so daunting, and like people like touching me inappropriately and like speaking to me and wanting to buy me a drink, and I was like, no, I'm fine, and then they wouldn't leave me alone. But I like when that happened and I was on my own, I had a bit of a wobble and I took myself outside. And I was like, I just want to go home. And it's really annoying because this is like one of the first times that I was out on my own in London. So I was like, it was frustrating because I was like, I really wanted to like come and do this and like show myself that I could do it. And I was like looking at the poster on the wall, and it was like, if you do feel unsafe, like you can come and talk to us, and like, you know, we'll provide you with some support. And I saw like there was like welfare like and safety officers like coming around and stuff, and that kind of made me feel better. I didn't end up speaking to them, but just knowing that there was that infrastructure in place, that if I did need to talk to someone, and I think that's so important, that even just like from a basis of like the venues need to provide some support to people, because like there's you even in spaces where I feel like I'm super safe, I feel like I can never be like 100% let my guard down. So I think it's also like no matter what the venue, no matter what the event, it's important that there's some support available to people, because you can't say that it's not going to happen, because there's always a chance that it could.
I think we're so lucky, like being in London as well. Like you kind of forget. I know you guys were based in Manchester for a bit, but I went to uni in London, and that was my first experience of going out. And then I joined Energy Crew, which is like a female-led thing. So I've fallen into this like really kind of safe space. I've been to your kind of events that are the open decks, and it's like there's opportunities for me to actually like be surrounded by this kind of safe space. And I'm like, is that because I'm in London and there's people pushing that? I don't like, do you have what's your experience? Is it different in Manchester? Like even in cities like Liverpool and Birmingham, I just wonder what it's like there. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess we have a lot of pressure on the clubs here. Do you know what I mean? Like, and there's a lot of regulation on the clubs in London. So yeah, what do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, my experience is crowds are kind of similar all over, I would have said. I mean, once again, it really depends on like the venue and what the night is. Like I grew up in Bristol, lived in Manchester for 6 years. So when I started going out, I was going to like Lakota in Bristol, and also Thekla, which is like the club on a boat. And you know, you'd have it has, I think over time it's generally just got better, because like when I first started going out, which would have been 2015, maybe 2014, I want to say, and you were much more likely to get groped, and like obviously that still happens, and I don't know if it's just because I've gotten a lot older, but it doesn't really happen to me in the same way anymore. Whereas like when I was going out when I was 18, it was kind of a guarantee, like it was going to happen at some point, it was going to piss you off, but you just kind of shrug it off, which is sad, but that was just the case. And but I think in general, I think it's the same things apply elsewhere as they do in London, where you know you can go to a night in a venue and have a great time, you can go to another night in that same venue, and because it's a slightly different crowd, it just doesn't hit, or maybe they've oversold tickets or something like that. Like there's so many factors that come into it.
Yeah, I grew up in Warrington, which is like halfway between Manchester and Liverpool. Very little to no music scene there, considering that I think we've more live stuff, but like the electronic, there was not really an electronic scene. There's maybe like an event every like month or so with just like a straight white male lineup. So I think that was like a big part of my musical journey, was like I think I just started really getting into dance music properly once I moved to Liverpool for uni. But then again, like it took me like a couple of years to kind of like find my scene there. In the first few years, like I felt like I didn't really fit in Liverpool. I remember like ringing my mum and I was like, all my friends are in Manchester and they've really like found the music scene there, and I just feel like, you know, I feel a bit lost. But I gave it a chance, and in the end, like I found like an amazing community there. But it's kind of harder to tap into, I think, when you're in these cities outside of London, like because the underground scene is like, especially for Liverpool, is like a little bit more underground, so it's harder to find. But I think once you find those spaces, like there's definitely like you feel more safer. But like in more of like the mainstream clubs, like it can be quite difficult to navigate and can make you feel lost, like, and a bit unsafe. I've got a lot of memories of kind of going out in Concert Square, trying to find myself and just having some really bad experiences with people there. So I think another reason why like these grassroots spaces are so important, because they do offer like safety and something a bit mainstream, that people are more going for the music. So they're not going to just get off their faces. They're actually going to like have a good night. But yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So conclude again, grassroots spaces are great. We love them. I think we're going to play one more track now, and then we're gonna sort of delve into, I guess, the music space outside of the dance floor, which I think is where we hear a lot of discussion at the moment. Social media, all that kind of stuff, and Not Bad for a Girl, like I said, are huge at the forefront of those discussions, especially online. So yeah, what's the next tune you're gonna play?
I'm gonna play Thank You For by Nolly. She obviously is part of and runs Amen Galdem. And it's just amazing to see like black women pushing a space that is literally made from them. And there, if you haven't seen it, like that underground like tube map of like black female DJs was amazing. Like so creative. I love it. So I just owed to her, and she's an amazing producer as well. So yeah.
Wrong song there. Right, next topic. We're going to kind of delve into like music industry outside of the dance floors. So we're talking about lineup, social media and that kind of stuff. And we were literally just talking about how we've just generally frustrated at the lack of diversity in lineups, and we can't work out the reason why. So I just like what your thoughts on that. And I know Not Bad for a Girl, obviously they put out that open letter recently, which had generally a great response. So what were the sort of, I guess, things in that that you guys were chatting about that need to happen to bring back that diversity that we cannot work out where it's gone? But yeah.
I think as much as anything, it's asking for... Oh, am I on? Yeah, okay. It's asking for men in the scene and men higher up to also be kind of championing the cause. It's all, like, it's all very well and good women saying it, but I think we're more likely to be labelled as just being like making a fuss, essentially. And we need to see more people who are at the top, who are, you know, speaking out and kind of making that effort. I think an example recently of this not being done, which we actually did talk about in our group chat, was Fred again did obviously his nights at Ali Pali recently. I think there were maybe 2 or 3 women on the lineups, alongside, you know, I think hundreds of men, hundreds of them. And it was just, I don't know, it's just disappointing. Like, I'm not a particularly big Fred again fan. I am more of a hater. But it's disappointing to see kind of big names like that who are so popular and who have such a big impact in the industry and who could be showing to audiences like, look, this is how we should be doing it. To see someone like him not taking that opportunity to be like, look, here are all these like amazing non-men who are also doing super cool things, and instead being like, oh my god, Skepta.
Yeah, and do you know what, you saying that as well, I think after this all the social media thing, everyone was like, it's an iconic night, like he's brought out all these MCs. And actually, yeah, like that's really opened my eyes, because I think a lot of time, like in like the history of grime and even baseline, like Sidewinder and all these big like ciphers that are labelled like really iconic nights that you can find like dodgy footage on YouTube for, we're not in, like, women aren't involved, okay? And that was not necessarily understandable, but that was quite a while ago. So yeah, the fact that that literally happening in 2026, that is being labelled an iconic night, bringing out huge rappers and MCs, yeah, that is mental. That's all I have to say on that, because that is crazy that women aren't getting included in an iconic night, like once again, which is so frustrating for even the wider scene. Yeah. So yeah, you did that open letter, and like, I guess, what are the things that you're, I mean, I know you said like people up top advocating things, and I guess it also trickles down into like women in spaces behind the scenes, in media roles, in tech roles and stuff like that. I know that you guys really like to highlight like funding and things, and getting women into those spaces. So like, what are Not Bad for a Girl doing in that area?
I think it's a good thing to be like very present on social media and just kind of like sharing like a lot of things and like tools that like people can use and utilize, like, and get access to stuff. Because I think like, because these spaces like have historically been so male dominated, like even things like funding, like a lot of people like don't know how to access that, like they've never had anyone teach them, and a lot of the time like you kind of just like have to rely on each other. And like, so I think it's important to always have this like support network that you can kind of like relate back to. And I think social media is a great way to kind of like get that message across to people. Like there's so many things out there that you wouldn't even realize that you can get with support, but like, yeah, like I said, if you're like kind of getting into music, it's, you don't know about them, so it's nice to like spread that awareness through social media.
One of the things that we actually did recently, Irby hosted a webinar with Keep Hush on networking, because that's one thing that, you know, in this day and age is a big part of, I don't know, quote unquote, making it in music. So she has a big background in sales. She's very good at kind of talking to people, essentially. And she'd done the same webinar for us as Not Bad for a Girl that had then been pitched to Keep Hush. So I think it's creating, it's as well as highlighting resources from other people, it's also creating those resources for people who, as Miggs was saying, might not have access to them. Because I think access is a huge barrier for a lot of people.
100%. Yeah, so please, anyone listening, I mean, our show is mainly about like showcasing up and coming DJs, newcomers, giving them a platform, a welcoming space like Mode, to get their mix out, and also footage and things like that, because we understand that it's so important for social media and things. And guys, get online sometimes and look at the resources and follow the accounts. It is really helpful. I guess to talk about social media, I feel like I haven't heard you guys necessarily talk about this, but unfortunately it's such like a contested environment, of a lot of places to uplift and discover women, to discover new sounds, discover new DJs and things like that. But there's, unfortunately, I think in a way, like it's kind of disheartening, because when you're in the rave, like with men, like you never really look at them and imagine them maybe possibly commenting some of the things that they are, but there must be them out there. So I guess, how do you guys, like, it's not bad for a girl, like keep on going, even though like sometimes your comments, I know you guys like not posting controversial stuff, but to some people it's controversial. And obviously there's so many like viral moments, like no women in the booth, like things like that and stuff.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I guess kind of like, what's your opinion and how to just like ignore it? Or I know that sometimes you like, I think someone on the panel said that they get into some conversations with people online as well, but it is quite scary to read. Do you know what I mean? Like, we may experience things on dance floors or as DJs in the booth, but like then to like read like the thing, it almost like validates your thoughts on like what people actually think, which is terrifying.
Yeah.
I think so often, and to put it bluntly, a lot of the people who are commenting, because I will go and stalk their profiles, losers. Genuinely, I think that makes me feel a lot better, is that kind of, there was a guy who recently was commenting on Attack Magazine shared our open letter, and there was a guy who was copy and pasting ChatGPT responses as his argument and being kind of like, oh, why won't anyone debate me? None of you are debating me. None of you are debating me. And it's kind of like, well, I'm not going to debate you and your AI girlfriend, because you say that you have like this big belief in like encouraging diversity on lineups. I can't remember, it was something bizarre, like he was saying like, this is why the far right is winning, and I was like, I don't really understand what this is, but sure. And it's kind of, if you believe in that if you believe in that much, you wouldn't need ChatGPT to make your arguments for you. And I think very often is that these people won't actually say what it is that bothers them, which is they hate women, and they try to make it into this kind of intellectual argument. So I think keeping that at the back of my mind kind of helps me, because they're kind of coming up with these arguments, none of which make sense. And it's like, no, this has got nothing to do with anything. You just don't like women, but you won't say that ultimately. I mean, sometimes we had a comment, this was I think a few years ago now, from this guy who just commented like, women DJs suck. It was just like, sure, yeah, got him.
Great joke there, mate.
I think like going back to the Attack Magazine thing, like that is such like a prime example of like the way that you should look at it, because like all these people like that is what like they have like at the forefront of it. It's coming from a place of like hatred for women disguised as something else. My favorite comment from that Attack Magazine thing was some guy commented, and he was like, well, if you care so much about women being at the forefront of the music scene, you should maybe like start like a DJ collective and do like takeovers and open decks and stuff. And that is just the prime example of, you have no idea who we are, you haven't looked at our page, you don't know what we're doing, you are literally just commenting on the page because you don't like women. Like, it's complete like keyboard warriors. And I like to think that these people aren't in our spaces, and they're maybe just sat at home on their laptop feeling really shit about their life. But you know, I think there's like echoes of misogyny everywhere, like at different levels. But that, when I saw that, I just absolutely howled, because I was like, and the ChatGPT thing, because it's just a prime example of like, you have no idea what you're talking about. You're so uneducated, but you're so filled with hatred. And I think, like you said, it's good to have that in the back of your mind, that like, these people, losers, stupid, don't have time for it. And I think that's the only way I cope. Martha deals with and you do as well, with a lot of the like replying to comments side of things. I am a very anxious person.
I had to stop because it was making me so anxious.
Yeah, it like really like gets me down. So I think it's hard to navigate that. But again, like, we kind of you have to make light of it, and you have to like make a joke out of
Oh,
it,
for
because
sure.
because they are losers. And I think like we do that really well on the page, is kind of like highlighting these comments and then telling people why they're wrong, like clapping back at people. Like even I brought up that like I was at an event and this random guy started coming over and started messing with the buttons, and he was like, that was probably the sound engineer. And I was just like, well, it obviously wasn't, because I've said a random guy, I know who the sound engineer is, babes. And it's just, yeah, it's just stupid comments. Like, come at me with something useful that I can clap back
Absolutely no thoughts.
at.
in
No
their
thought,
head.
not a single thought.
And there we go. I mean, we are very running out of time, but can I just say, like, I really enjoyed this conversation. And like I said, we're not fixing things straight away. We're just chatting about our experiences and stuff. And do you know what? On the whole men hate women thing, to any guys listening, we don't hate you. We
No.
actually love you. Like, you have been like, you bring us sound, you do create music, you have created really key spaces, but women have as well, and we are here too. And that is what it's about. We really don't hate you. It's never like a men hate women and women hate men. And I think that is always a very frustrating thing, because there's so many guys, and we're really, really lucky in Energy Crew. We are a women-led collective, and always that, and the guys are always there to uplift and help out, and that is always a really positive thing. But yeah, things can be better. I don't know what the full conclusions are, because we are always searching for them, and Not Bad for a Girl are just a great voice to listen to. Like you said, not only is it all serious, there's some great funny posts on there. I love the sarcasm behind things. And yeah, if you don't know them already, please check them out. If you're a promoter, if you're a man working in the music industry, a tech, lighting, a DJ, a producer, like, this is a really great resource for you to look at, and it's super accessible. It's on Instagram. We love Not Bad for a Girl. Thank you so much for all the work you guys do, and
Thank you for having us.
all the things you
thank
guys
you very
endure,
much.
and we all endure. But anyway, thank you so much for coming on. DaiSu, thank you so much for that absolutely mega
You're
mix.
so welcome.
Please check both these girls out. And actually, Miggs, you're going to catch her
I'll be
later.
back.
She'll be back.
I'll be back.
She'll be back.
You're not rid of her yet.
No.
No. So yeah, happy International Women's Day. Sending all my girlies out there flowers, love, peace, and so much dancing this next year. We're going to have a good one. Things will be better. And if anything, we're here for you, right? If you got a girl on the dance floor, she's looking sad, come and fucking talk to me. I will come and cheer you up and give you a ciggy, you know, or a puff of my vape, whatever you fancy. Anyway, that has been us, Baby Crew on Mode. Maria, did you have a good time? She's a bit hungover, but she's like, she's here, she's
I'm out of it.
she's committed.
I'm out of the hangover now. I think you can't be in a hangover after such a kind of inspiring talk like that. Like, I feel motivated after that, you know? If you want a way to get out of a hangover, maybe, listen back to this.
There we go. We are your hangover cure on a Sunday. Have a great rest of your day and stay locked to Mode. We've got some amazing DJs coming on, Miggs being one of them. So yeah, stay locked.
Like this,
Keep it locked. This is Mode.London.
Keep it locked. This is Mode.London. Keep it locked. This is Mode.London.
Mode.